Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Juan Carlos, and in today's video, I will be doing a brief rundown of what my schedule looks like, what my first day of class was like, and doing an assignment for Design 8 with you guys. So for my schedule for the semester, I ended up having all online classes that are consisting of Environmental Technology 1, Architectural Theory, Design 8, and Materials and Methods, as well as an additional elective course, which is a minor for me in crime prevention, which is Policing in America, which is an amazing course that helps you kind of think in developing designs that are preventative in crime. So it's a really interesting course to have. I'm also majoring in disaster management, or at least minoring, I mean. So it's really interesting courses to have. Now, going into my first day of class, it was very interesting. I am currently with a professor that I've had previously for another design course, and his name is Bate. So if you have ever attended Florida Atlantic University or you've ever been in the architecture program, you know who he is, or you've had him previously. And he is a very interesting professor. He enjoys having you sketch out and draw out by hand and think in that way, because it's just an easier, or at least a more liberating way to think of design, because it just does not limit you at all or put any restrictions on you. So for my first assignment in his class, I have to do a sketch, a problem sketch as he calls it, which involves sketching out an image of an architectural piece. In this case, we're going to be doing a farmhouse, so I will be showing you guys the image shortly. And the method of which he wants us to draw this is by having limited equipment to use, so limited supplies. And I will show you guys what each of the things that we allowed to use are, and showing you guys kind of how he wants us to draw. So in a second, I will be showing you guys my table and my sketchbook. So give me 1 second. Here is the image that we're going to be utilizing for our sketch problem, and it's provided by Professor Abate. And basically, we are just going to be sketching out this farmhouse. And this farmhouse is very interesting. It has a lot of depth, it has a lot of texture, it has a lot of methods that we have to incorporate to kind of create this nice, interesting sketch. So we're just gonna get started. Welcome to my table, and here you can see kind of the supplies used. In particular, he just set some restrictions for us so that way we can have less distraction. So in front of me right now, I have a sketchbook, which is the same sketchbook that I've mentioned in my previous video. So if you haven't checked that out, I will be including it above or somewhere on the screen. And it's the 5.5 by 8.5 sketchbook. It's kind of the size that he wants us to go in. And then some things that he wants us to use is a pencil, and I do have my eraser pen here. And the pencil is just to kind of give yourself guides. It's not really to sketch out. The method in which he wants us to sketch out is through the use of pens or markers. And in this case, I do have just a Sharpie to show you guys that you could use a Sharpie. And I have my Micron pens in 0.1 and 0.8. So you can see that. These are the ones that I'm going to be using. And I do have a mini scale. Now, we are allowed to use some forms of tools like this, but to get a straight edge, but I honestly like to freehand most of my sketches just because it's more free and it gets your muscle memory to kind of interpret when you're drawing and sketching in a different way. So this is the only part where I am going to be truly using my scale, my mini scale, and that is just to kind of very quickly draw out some lines to make a grid. And I'm gonna be doing a basically four rows by four columns to kind of create my grid. So it's, you know, it's not like perfect, but it's a quick sketch. He gives us a limited amount of time, so it's not like, you know, we could spend too much time on it. For this particular course, he didn't request to do it in class, so I'm able to do it out before class is finished. So it's a really quick sketch that we're trying to get done. So just to start off, I'm gonna go from, in my case, from left to right, because it's going from the smaller side towards the bigger side, so I do want to have that control. And the way that I'm gonna do it is, I know, like, kind of halfway in between. So this is the part where I'm allowed to use a pencil. It's just to, like, briefly sketch out the farmhouse and how it's gonna look. Kind of briefly sketching out how my roof is gonna look like. So you could draw smaller guides to kind of help you kind of get where the boundaries are, so that it's simpler to kind of draw in a kind of almost perspective way. And I'm just looking at the image as I'm sketching. And then in the background we do have a kind of scenic area. And this is all going to be retraced with these pens and markers. So I kind of got the outline of it. What I could go into further is kind of just creating the lines. Now this one, for me, honestly, it could be the more difficult part of the sketch problem, is trying to make sure that you line up all of your lines so that kind of you create a matching row like that. And then just now down, you could, it's usually a little bit thin, but the way I like to do is just I like to do very open ones so that I could draw in between them, because if you do them, it's hard to kind of fill in. It was very brief, so you can see. You would think that the sketch is like really rough, but that's kind of how the process is. So now I am going to be going in with the 0.8 to outline my more important and upfront lines. So we're gonna start from kind of the part where I want to have focus on. So I'm just gonna go from the bottom. Now you could use tools for this particular step, but like I said, I just like to do everything freehand. It kind of provides the idea that it is a sketch. And I just want to focus on kind of drawing the details now a little bit. So all I'm gonna do now is gonna continue this, add more lines to them, details to it, that and shading within the actual windows, so that I could continue adding depth. So now I'm just gonna be placing this on top, so that way I'm not smudging anything. Even though these dry really quickly, I like to prevent, you know, any smudges. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start drawing just one side of the lines, and then just doing a brief line to do the backscape. Now in the back, I can see that there are some trees. So I like to sketch really messily. So now, unfortunately, I had to rush the process a little bit because I wasn't able to record that part because I did have to submit it. But just so that you guys you saw kind of like the step by step what I did, I ended up just adding
more hatching detail to it and kind of adding more ground to it, so that way it's more clear. And then of course signing in at the bottom and putting the date is very important, because that way you can look back and be like, I did that this time, and you can include it in your portfolio at the end. So this is a really nice way to do it. So like I said, I did this all generally freehand. I didn't want to do it too hard, but this is how it kind of turned out. So I hope you guys like it.